everybody can, you can see it now.
Yep, can see the
Jason,
slide.
okay. Well, thank you very much, Jason, for the introduction. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or wherever you are. Hello to everyone. And today I will share some tips on IT maintenance plan for Azure. But before that, I'd like to give some information about myself. As my name is Sarita Garg, and I have over 15 years experience working with SQL Server, databases, data warehouse, infrastructure, and security. Last 4 years, I worked with on-premise SQL data warehouse, which is called Microsoft PDW APS appliances, where I did the POC and the procurement, implementation, data warehouse, build, DR, availability, backup solution architecting, performance, capacity planning, and data warehouse and appliance support last 4 years. Now I'm transitioning into independent consulting to work on-premise and Azure SQL database and SQL data warehouse environment to provide solution, design, and delivery of infrastructure and migrate, upgrade, integrate legacy or PLM or merger acquisition systems into private and public cloud. And I'm passionate about learning and researching new and emerging technologies. And some contact information, my email address and LinkedIn profile. With that, I will, last several months, I have been learning about Azure Data Services, attending lunches and learns, workshops, Azure user groups in the Twin City areas. And so this slide I came across, that learn it all versus know it all, where Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, was interviewed and asked for his secret of his success. And one of the statements that stand out and got my attention, that learn it all versus know it all. Because when we feel that we know it all, we will not make an effort to learn. But when we say learn it all, then we become lifelong student. And technology, that's what it is, learning and new features and new technologies ongoing. And with that, this presentation is the result of that learning, and that's what I am going to share, what I have learned these last few months, because my experience is in the on-premise infrastructure, SQL servers, databases, data warehouse. But when I was learning this Azure area, I felt that there was lot of similarities between on-premise and Azure environment. And if you have knowledge and experience on the on-premise, working with the Azure, I do not find will be much difficult. There will be some differences and that will require learning, but both the maintenance part, the areas we monitor for in the on-premise environment are pretty much similar in the Azure. The only difference is that now they will be supported by Microsoft, but there are certain areas that we still need to set up some maintenance plans for that can be standardized and that can meet the on-premise or enterprise standards, policies, procedures, and compliance. And that's what this presentation is about today. So with that, I will go to the agenda. First, I will discuss about the health of Azure implementation, then alerts and log analytics, and database backups, database access and privileges, compliance, audit and vulnerabilities, performance of resources, and manage cost and decommission resources. So the first one we start with health of Azure implementation. As we do in the on-premise, whether we are upgrading a database or we are moving from one data center to other data center, or we are bringing in the merger acquisition systems into the corporate systems. When we deploy in the production, we want to be sure that everything is up and running, and that's what it means. Is it plugged in? And it's a similar concept applies to the Azure database environment, that where when we go into production, we want to be sure that everything will be working. And I'm sorry, I forgot to ask everyone, can everyone hear me? It's quite late to ask that. And then the most critical part for this and the tool for this to monitor is the service health, which can be very, very critical and important during the initial implementation and migration to Azure from on-premise for any alerts and events. So I'll just do a demo of this, so if we go into, this is my Azure free account that I'm using, and if I go into the home and I have the services here, all services, and this is the service health, which is a very important tool for that initial implementation, where we have service issues, whether was there a VM unannounced reboot, or it can tell all those issues there. So I will start with the service issues first, and I'll launch the guided tool to look at that what are the things we can look. So in the first one is this area where we have service issues, planned maintenance, health advisories, and health history. So we find active service issues maintenance. Then in the next one will be these alerts that will tell you that when the issue began and what service and regions are impacted. And then the next one will show that the most recent update on the issue, that what is going on to resolve the issue. And then will be the link. And this is where you can set up as part of your maintenance plan on the on-premise environment, this alert taking the link here, given here, that can be used in your problem management system. So anytime any critical events happen, that alert will come to the on-premise team. Then next will be the download. You can download as a PDF file to share with your team and then work with that. No, I got to go back. Sorry about that. And the next one after you're done downloading will be that you are done with. So I can go into my service. I got to close this. To minimize this. Sorry about that. I want to minimize and I'm not able to minimize this area. Yeah, okay, next. Now I can go to the next one. Now review the list of the resources, and those are the resources we can find and export it to share with the team. And next will be then the business critical regions and resource types that you can pin it and keep handy every time to look at and monitor it. And the last one will be that you can create service health alerts for any Azure service issues that affect you. And then if additional help is needed, then Microsoft support can be reached out at the Twitter, or a support case can be opened with them. So this was just the walkthrough, and I will now look at through if I can, because I don't have any filters to show here. So we can go into the health history, and where I might be able to do some, but I don't have any at present, so it will not show. So once we are done, then next is the planned maintenance. And that's another area that Microsoft we can set up the alert, and then that can give us the information about the event and what event took place. If I could see this here, I'm having difficulty with this one. Okay, yeah, here. So now if I go take last 3 months, then now I can show you the example here. This is how this service issues, and this will show you the alerts that come. So the first part was the summary that we looked into, that documentation walkthrough, and that gives you the tracking ID, and then the network impacted service, impacted region, all the information, and what is the last update, and the service, and the impact of the, and then the root cause, what was found, and then what are the next steps, and how it was solved. So this one gives you the information about all the events, and this is where you can set up the alert to inform you and the team using this link from here into your problem management system. And this is very critical, especially in the beginning of the migration and implementation. Same thing with planned maintenance, though you can set up planned maintenance and then work with even Microsoft, because they give you 30 days time to decide, and they can and you can have the capability to run yourself that maintenance plan. Otherwise, in 30 days, that they do once a year and 30 days time. And health advisory shows you that what are the deprecated features or anything that will be there. So this is all about when we are talking about the planned maintenance and the personalized guidance and support. And when we have any issues and what will be their impact and how we keep updated, this is where you can set up that one alert, and all the critical events happening will alert the team ahead of time. The next one will be um, alerts and log analytics. And this is another area where, as a maintenance, we can set up on the Azure server and the database to alert the on-premise team. Though many of those alerts and the events are monitored by Microsoft and they are taken care behind the scenes, but there are certain areas that you might want to do for yourself. So we can go and look into again in the demo. This time we can go into the SQL database, and I have a test database created here. So at the database level, I have the activity log, and there I can see different operations that what I want to see, whether top queries, whether they succeeded or they did not succeed, and they started, that all the information will be in the last 6 hours and all SEB, and we can add filter and decide, or you can add the columns, or you can go and send to the log, or can create a CSV file if you have your own on-premise database to load, or you can send to the event hub and get the information from there. This is one of the logs to set up the alerts and look at it. I can look at here that how those alerts will show up. Then we can look at other area is the metric alert, and which will be, we can go into the metrics, and this where you can set up different alerts related to the database, and you can create new alert rules, and you can decide, and here you can define who to send the text message or email or any your on-premise ITSM system, and you can create different rules and different alerts to send. Other one is that if we go into the home log analytics, and this is the one area which collects a lot of good information where you can, this is my log analytics workspace, and log analytics can give you a lot of good information on an ongoing basis, what is happening on the database and on the server, and then you can develop some queries and get the information like demo analytics. I have one demo to show where you can run different queries. For example, if I have one query running here, I'm going to go with the computer availability. So the computer is available today. If I run that, it will give you that information and show you the chart in the log analytics. Or I can go and look into the another area of the computer analytics. I'm looking for that. In the computer analytics. So just you can, I just wanted to show you, you can research more. I have the resources at the end where you can look different areas like computer performance, how is the performance, how the data collected, how are the memory and CPU uses, and trends over the last day of the CPU uses, and the top 10 computers with highest disk space. So this is a good log analytics log where you can get a lot of good information and set up the alerts or the about the data usage, about the computer performance, about the computer availability. So that will health and alerts and log analytics area where you can set up alerts on premise from the Azure environment and send the alerts to you on premise. The next one is database backups, which we all know and we do all the time in our as DBAs. So in the case of Azure data bases, first thing, they are automatically created when the database is created, and there's no additional charge for the backups. And they are full is weekly, differential every 12 hours, and transaction logs every 5 to 10 minutes. And then the backups are kept 7 to 35 days depending on the purchasing and service model. Like if you have a basic service purchasing model, then it is kept for 7 days. And if it is standard and premium, then it is kept for 5 weeks. The important area is this configure long-term backup retention policy. That's where you can set up an alert if there are legal requirements or contractual requirements to keep a database for a year or 5 year or 10 year, and that's where this is the one area can be useful to set up a maintenance plan, and we can look at that the demo. If we go into the SQL database and I go into the SQL Server because the backup is at the server level, and there is the manage backups, and that's where I can configure a policy. So like I configure a test database and I configure retention policy there. So this is for the point in time restore, which is set by default 35 days. You can change it to 28 or 21 or 7 or 14 days. But then if it is set to 36 days or 37 days, then you will get the backups after the first one is done 35 days. If you are reducing the days, then you will not have the backups available before the ones which have taken up before. Long-term retention, that's where you can set up whether weekly, monthly, or yearly, and you can, like if you are doing yearly, you can set up whether 1 week or 2 week ahead or third week of the month or the fourth of the week month, or depending on the weeks of the year, whichever week you choose, and then how long you want to keep this. So you can give the, for example, year, and if I put up 5, then this you can apply this, and how long weekly you can decide and set up this alert here to send to the team whether the backup is taking place or not, because you might be thinking backup is happening, but it may not be actually happening. If something went wrong, then you want to be sure that your long-term backup is available when it's needed. Then we go back to, I will not save it because this is just the show and tell of that. So this is about the backups, which I wanted to cover the long-term policy. Now we'll go to the database access and privileges. This is a very important and critical area which we do on our on-premise. We set up certain access and certain alerts even. So in the Azure world, there are first is the protecting the data, and that can be data in motion by encrypting the client connections, or database at rest. They are using TDE, transparent data encryption, and it's set up by default when you create the database, but then it can be changed if you want to disable it. And then also data in use always encrypted, which is a new feature of SQL 2016, I think. Then how we can control the access, that by setting up the firewall rules, that which servers, which IP addresses can connect to the database. That's another area to control access and set up the alerts. And same authentication. In the case of Azure, either it could be SQL authentication, or it could be Azure Active Directory authentication. And then the role-based permissions, sometimes the way we do on-premise databases also. And again, the proactive monitoring is required. And we can look at a demo of this. And I go into database, SQL database, and we will look into the security. In the security, we come across this transparent data encryption. So right now I had turned that on, and which is by default, it is turned on, but you can turn it off if you don't want it. And second thing is that now the option is there that you can have your own key for the encryption. But if you don't opt for that, your own key, then the Microsoft key is used, and then you do not have much control on the database security because you do not own the key. So this is another, you can learn more about it when you go into the this documentation and how Azure uses this transparent data encryption, and that will be a good area to look at, and to set up an alert for this so that you know that the database is encrypted or there are no issues there. The other is that limiting the access by the firewall rules, and that's another you can, but that will be at the server level. So if we go into the SQL database and go into the server, and this is where, if we look into the security, here's the firewall and virtual networks, where you can define the rule, and you can set up the start IP and end IP, or source and destination IP. And that's the only one then can access the database, and nobody else can. So this is another area how you can set up an alert and see that nobody else is accessing the database except the IP address you define. And transparent data encryption is also at the server level. And here also you can either use your own key, or you can use the default key what is Microsoft doing. So this is another way to look at. Then I'll move to compliance in audit and vulnerability, which is we all work in our environment, but it's a different. So if I go into SQL database and I look into the, here it shows me that I have auditing. We can look into that, or we can look into this advanced data security, which is the one for scanning and vulnerability assessment. Now here, this is a new feature which is in the preview, will be coming in. I really liked it, because what happens in this data classification and discovery classification, you can find that which tables have the sensitive data. sometimes it is very hard for us to find, and many times this question comes that which tables have the sensitive data, but this new feature coming will be in. So if you define in your classification and that which table, then it will show you there. Like I don't have right now anything here to show. So, but if I add a classification, then I can give the schema name. I have the address table. I have the ID, information type. I can say contact info, and sensitivity level. I can set it up as confidential because this is a PII data. And if I add this classification, so it will show me here now that this, and then if I look into the overview, then it will show me that. It will not show me here, but in your classification, you will be able to see. So this is the new feature coming. Right now it's not available, but then the important one for us is this vulnerability assessment, and which is done where we do scanning and we do generate a report. What could be, what are the areas need remediated, and so this is the advanced, and you can send the alerts, you can set up the alert here once that report is generated, and you can look at that report. So we'll go into the, now here it will show the failed checks and the scan, and now all the vulnerability section is to, and you will, in order to have that data saved, you will need a storage account where you can either save it on a blob, or you can save on a general storage or a blob storage. So you will need to define that area for those scanned reports to be there. And these, so once we are in the security area, so we, then next one we come to the performance. Performance, how we can set up some performance counters and alerts in order to monitor proactively. And in the Azure, we have intelligent performance, where we can detect the performance before it becomes a problem. And we have the query performance recommendations, which is database resource consumption. It gives top queries and drill down details. And then a very good feature is the automatic tuning that uses the AI and machine learning, so behind the scenes. So we'll go and look into that one area about the performance monitoring. So if we go into the performance monitoring, right now I don't have anything because I have not set up anything here, but there it gives you the recommendations. It gives you the tuning activity and that no completed actions or automatic tuning. Or we can go into performance recommendations that will give that what are the what are the issues there and what recommendation system is giving, and how you, and what is the tuning history. Most important, this query performance insight is the one gives you information about the resource consumption queries. This is one very good area, and we can set, you can set up the alerts here to inform ahead of time. So you can customize it further and set up. Right now you can, if for example, if I look at this top performing query number 20, then it gives me the code, what was the SQL was running at that time and how it's performing in terms of the CPU percentage and duration and executions. It gives the whole history and all the information there. So this is a very good tool in order to troubleshoot the performance issues. And then also you can, it gives the recommendations what action to take in order to then automatic tuning. This is the very nice feature which I really liked, because the automated process, if you enable this automated tuning, it will keep track of the workload, and it will find if there are any performance issues, and it will automatically resolve them, and see if they have a positive impact or negative impact, and if there are any positive negative impact, then it will roll back, and it all happens behind the scenes, without the users knowing it. And for example, that in on-premise environment, you have to look and you set up the plan for the index fragmentation, or for running the index drop and creation based on that fragmentation information. But in this Azure environment, it's this automatic tuning will look into that, which are the duplicate indexes, it will drop them. Or if there are any bad plans, it will force them to and tune it, the plan. So this is a very good feature that Azure has, and can be very, very helpful, and you can set the alerts here in monitoring. And there are different ways, different alerts you can create. So classic is not this. So if I add metrics here for a database monitoring, I can set up my metrics. Is there, and then I can set up my resource group is there. Now metrics, I can set up. There are a lot of options available to me. CPU or failed connections, or total database size, or DTU percentage, or logged firewall, or deadlocks, or data storage. So many good options that you can set up the alert the way exactly like your on-premise, where you monitor the database capacity, you monitor the temp DB size, and the blocking or deadlocks, or IO CPU usage, or connection issues, and then you can set up the notification through email, or webhook, or any other means, or in your and integrate into your problem management system. So this is a very good option available in terms of setting up and monitoring for your environment. After that performance, we will go to about managing the cost and decommission resources. And this is something will be very useful because in the Azure, it's a pay-as-you-go, and the consumption-based cost involved. So if you do not have the information or analysis of your workload, then this Azure migration or Azure support can be quite costly, because so this feature, the cost management, is a very good feature, but it's available only for the enterprise system, not for individuals yet. Maybe in next few months it might be available. So I will go over just a few areas of this cost management and billing, and where you can set up the alerts that when your consumption is going high, or which resources are causing that consumption high, and then you can investigate and take action to reduce the cost. And that can become where maybe collect the data, and it might prove helpful during the performance review, that how much you save the money for the department or for the team. So in the cost management, it's only in preview, so right now, and also I don't have enterprise assurance, so I cannot do that. But first you analyze the cloud cost, and then you monitor your budget, and then you can do the recommendations. And so if we go into the open cost analysis, and it's showing me in my current database that how much is the total and how much, because budget wasn't set up, so it's not showing that. Then it's showing the service, which service using how much cost is, the database, the storage, the insight, the container, then which locations, like which regions, so US North Central or US Central or US South Central, wherever you have set up the region. And then the resource groups, like is it a test database, or is it resource, ML resource, or whichever resource group you have sent. So this is a good information that cost analysis can help you and give you that information. Or we can look at the tool, let's see, yeah. So now here I have accumulated cost March 2019, and accumulated, I can either have daily or monthly. So if I have monthly, I can set up monthly cost to show. Group by, I can have either meter or resource or service name or service tier. So billing period or invoice number, so many different ways you can set up. And then it can, this information can be like, in my case, I had to monitor monthly chargebacks, and I had to look at, it was a kind of a manual process, but this is a nice feature in Azure, where once you can set it up, and once it is available for individual, then it can be help very a lot. And then you can set up the cost alerts. I don't have any, but if you go, then you can learn more about it, that how you can set up those cost alerts. And that can tell you how much is going up and down. And this is the budget area where you can set up a budget. For example, you add, and for the whole year or quarter or 6 months, you can set up the budget. So you can give the name and the amount, how much you are expecting, how much is the projection estimated for monthly or quarterly or annually. You can set up the budget, and then which will the start date, and then the expiration date, like January 1st of the year through December 31st of the year. If you have that 1 year period, you can set up the budget here, and then you can set up the alerts here, that that how much percent of the budget you are already used up amount here, or what action group is using it up, and what group type is using up, and then who should, and you can define who to send that alert. So this is, and then alert recipient you can set up who to send. So this setting up the budget and creating the budget, and then constant monitoring of this budget through that, when your processes are running, they will keep on feeding into that information, that how much is getting used up. And if you want to monitor daily, you can do daily or monthly or quarterly, but this is a very nice feature which is available in Azure to monitor the cost and manage the cost and do the analysis of that cost. Then there is one more feature I was looking at, overview. Let's go into the overview, cost management. So this is monitor with budget and then analyze cloud cost and create budget. And then you view the recommendations. So this gives you the recommendation also that where you are is getting used the most used. So it will give you those recommendations. So like high availability. So now how much you are getting used up, and then cost of this one is 0 of that one because I have not set up high availability. But in the cost security, it's going showing how many are there, but then the cost is 0. So this can give you the information about the what the recommendation are and whether it's high impact or low impact or medium impact, or what you should do to reduce the cost and manage the budget and the cost. And the last one is the Claudine. This is a very nice feature if you are using multiple cloud environment like also Amazon AWS or Google GCP. Then this Claudine module, you can see the consolidated cost, and that can give you a nice view that how much Azure is costing, how much AWS is costing, how much Google Cloud is costing, and you can see that if it is, and you can decide which one to keep out of those three providers in case if one or two are costing more than the other. So this is a very nice feature. So if we go to Claudine, and you can set up the alerts here in order to monitor, see who's that. Now here I can go individual subscription owner, but it won't allow me to do much, but I can just put down here test and see. Now I got the registration, but it's not giving me that how, but on the side, just showing you the demo where you can see that Azure manage how the cost here versus over budget or under budget, and then how we can manage through these different providers. And it's not giving me that option, but otherwise this is a nice feature once that becomes available. So then last is that the decommissioning, and which is a very, that's another area where you can manage the cost or reduce the cost by if there is a resource is not in use, you can decommission and that can reduce the cost. And if a resource is using less, then you can reduce the size, like, or if it is resources using more, then you can add more power, compute power or storage to the resource. So this decommission part also becomes of the cost management, and which can be very, very helpful to the organization. And then my last one is about the resources. So I just put down these resources to show that if you go into this one, and if I look into this health, you can go and look into that health service, the first one that we did, service health, and it can show you that all the documentation here if you need more information, or look at what are the alerts and processes you can set up on the Azure to inform on-premise team. That's one area to do. Then I had log analytics. This one has also the Azure Friday. This was something very nice I found that that is Azure Friday YouTube that you can watch for this planned maintenance, which I didn't have much information, but this one shows you a lot of information about how you will be able to see on the Azure the main planned maintenance and look on what action you can take. Other one I found that log analytics. This was also a good YouTube to watch which can give you information about the log analytics, and I find log analytics very useful for so much information it has and so much. So this was another one for the log analytics, and he walks you through different areas of the log, how you can save it, how you can write that log query, and how you can find the information, because there is so much information collected that you will need to look what you really need. Other one I had this backup. I thought that performance, this is the one I found to be very useful, and I liked it very much because of the performance tuning made it so easy with the Azure, what we find on our on-premise when we were doing ourselves. So they are doing that. This query performance insight is a nice feature that gives you the deeper insight into that, how your resources are getting used and consumed, and how. Then there is one related to the performance insight and intelligent insight. This was very useful feature that you can proactively monitor, and then you can tailor the performance insights, and then you can do the root cause analysis, and you can do the follow through the performance recommendations, and how does it have a positive impact on the DevOps resources, because nowadays DevOps is becoming a real trend, and every organization using, so that can help you. And there are that how this all this performance tuning from this can help, and how the artificial intelligence works, how it detects and how it analyzes, and how it makes the what it does recommend to fix internally. So this is another nice feature. Then I had in this one, other one that automatic tuning. This is the one that was a very useful feature, and it can help so much in troubleshooting the performance issues. If once you enable it, then you can, like I think I did not go over that. If we go into this SQL database and performance, how you can set up that automatic tuning, how you can enable it. So you have it here. I have turned on the force plan or inherit, or I have done all of them, inherit or create index or drop index. So this automatic feature can help you to run, and if you enable that, then you can help to tune the database and give the recommendations. And lastly, the cost we talked about, but I can show some more about it that will help in the cost management, which is the a very important area and lot of looked at before it can be even used to do some discovery analysis before migrating to Azure, collecting all the information, and you can do the analysis and see if it will be cost effective to move to Azure, or it will be cost effective to stay on the on-premise. So with that, I think I am done here. And then lastly, if any questions, and thank you very much for everyone for joining, and I appreciate the time.
All right, thank you, Sarita. That was very helpful. Right now, we are not sitting at any questions. I'll give it a minute here. If people want to submit a question. I will remind everyone, if you look in the chat, there is the link to submitting a submitting for the call for presenters for this virtual group. And I do encourage anyone that is interested in presenting to reach out, and we will get you on the schedule. All right, looks like we are not going to have any questions, Sarita, so thank you for your time today. Thank you everyone for attending. And with that, and with that, I think I'm going to stop the recording and close out the session. So thank you once again, Sarita.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice evening, afternoon, everyone.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.